Adjusting the camera. Man, come on in, family. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit to get in here before we get started. Man, it's gonna be heavy today. It's gonna be heavy today, man. I hope you guys ready for this one. We going in today. It's gonna be rough. Man. What's up, babe? What's up, Scott? Missed you yesterday, Scott. Sean's workouts, what's up with you? Family, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Man, down the rabbit hole. What's up, Carter Brown? Man, down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole. Man, are you guys ready to go down the rabbit hole? Man, I don't normally wear red. Matter of fact, I think I got like 3 shirts that are red. You know what I mean? One Kung Fu shirt that I got in China. One when I got going to Atlanta for this thing, and this one right here. That's it. You know what I mean? And it just happens that my queen, her favorite color is red. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. So, man, we're going to swallow the red pill today. You know what I mean? We're taking a red pill today, and we're going down the rabbit hole. Okay? Man, I hope you guys ready for this, man. On behalf of my mother-in-law, may God bless each and every one of you that are catching this live, each and every one of you that are here. What's up, Jose? Man, may God bless each and every one of you. May he have his way in your life. May he draw you closer unto him. And for those of you that catch this later on the YouTube replay, man, may God bless you as well. What's up, Thomas? Man, may you receive the blessings as well. You know what I mean? Man, Tawanda Haynes, what's up? Man, family, going down the rabbit hole, going down the rabbit hole. I'm nervous about this one because it's, man, there's so many different ways to go with this. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways to go with this. And it's like, are you woke? You know what I mean? Are you woke? You know, and it's crazy because years ago, years ago, like back in the 70s, my uncle, who had never been in the military, he knew so much about military technology. Man, this guy was telling me back in the 70s, stay with me, that we had missiles that can fly and go up over mountain ranges and around buildings and make turns and stuff. Back in the 70s, he was telling me this stuff. And that just seems so just far-fetched. You know what I mean? That just seems so out of the norm, man. I didn't believe that we had that type of technology, but my uncle was telling me, man, we got stuff that'll do this, and that. We got bullets that'll go right and that'll go left and miss people and hit other people and all this. My uncle was telling me this stuff before Wanted came out with Angelina Jolie and all those other people. You know what I mean? He was telling me this stuff back in the 70s. He was telling me that, man, we had a jet that was it I can't even think of the name of the jet that the Air Force had or Navy had that was invisible. You know what I mean? The stealth bomber. You know, my uncle was telling me about this back in the late 70s, early 80s about the stealth bomber. How, man, it would just disappear on radar. You know what I mean? And just show up anywhere. Are you ready to go down the rabbit hole? And it's a trip because I never thought that stuff was possible. You know what I mean? And so guy was dealing with me on some stuff, and he's like, Elijah, you know what I mean? Man, are you really woke? Are you really woke? And family, man, there's so many people swear and convinced that they're woke. You know what I mean? And I'll get off work, right? I worked at Saputo Cheese at the time, man. I would get off work. I was a supervisor, had like 20 something people working for me. I would get off work on swing shift, come home by 11, 12 o'clock and stay up 6 to 8 hours just studying all of this crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Man, I was studying the Trilateral Commission. You know what I mean? I was studying the Bilderberger Group. You know what I mean? I was studying Boulay. You know what I mean? I'm studying all these different groups, man, and how they influence society, how they control and manipulated the agenda. You know what I mean? I'm studying all this stuff. and I'm looking into the black pope, and I'm looking into, the Catholic Church and the power that the Catholic Church has, the money that it has, and I'm just looking at all this stuff. I'm looking at, man, it's crazy how three cities rule the world. Three cities, towns, whatever you want to call them, rule the world. You know what I mean? And so I'm studying all this stuff in depth. What's up, Carter Brown? Man, the three town cities, whatever you want to call them, man, they don't answer to nobody. You know what I mean? They're a country of within themselves. Stay with me. Man, you got London, and London is the financial bank of the whole world. You know what I mean? London is the financial bank of the whole world. Washington, D.C., that's the military branch of the whole world. You know what I mean? Stay with me. And then you have London, the Vatican, which is the religious center of the whole world. All religious groups answer to Rome. I don't care what these Christians in America talk about. They all answer to Rome. You know what I mean? They all answer to Rome. Don't get that twisted. Don't get that twisted. They all answer. And I know the people can say, well, about the Protestant movement, man, they all answer to Rome. Man, we're going to go down the rabbit hole today. But we're going to, what we talk about on here, man, is grown folk channel right here. We're going to talk about some real things today. But we're going to also bring them back to us, to each and every one of us. And so I'm getting off work, and I'm studying all this stuff, man. I'm studying, just all these different groups, you know what I mean? All these different groups, and like the 13 families that rule the world. The 13 families that rule the world. You know what I mean? Man, there's so much that you could just go down a rabbit hole, and man, it's crazy. It's crazy because you could get so lost going down these different rabbit holes, and you swear to God and to everybody else how woke you are. Man, I'm so woke, man, because I could sit here and I could talk to you about, man, what's the stuff in the sky? I can't even think of it right now. It looked like clouds. It looked like from the planes, and I got so much going through my head right now. Chemtrails, man, and we're studying chemtrails 15, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Chemtrails was out 20 years ago, and people were talking about that stuff. You know what I mean? And so, man, you're convinced, man, because you're studying all this stuff, and nobody else is talking about this stuff. Everybody else talking about stupid stuff. You know what I mean? Man, we're studying where AIDS really came from, who really got AIDS going. You know what I mean? We all know that, man, AIDS didn't come from no monkey biting somebody in Africa. You know what I mean? We know that's bullshit that the government told us. You know what I mean? I'm getting into, JFK, and, man, who really killed him? Stay with me, talking about going down the rabbit hole. And so, man, everybody intelligent know that, man, Lee Harvey Oswald didn't kill JFK. You know what I mean? The miracle bullet, the magic bullet that made like 7 holes going different directions, ricochet, coming back and doing all this stupid stuff. We know that's not realistic. You know what I mean? We know that other people had a hand in that. You know what I mean? Stay with me. We're going down the rabbit hole today. And so you start studying all this stuff, right? And you're like, dang, man, look at these oil companies. Why is it here with all this technology that our automobiles are still dependent on gasoline? With all the technology we have, man, as a kid, we was watching the Jetsons. I'm 52 years old. As a kid, we was watching the Jetsons. And they said by 2020, man, we're supposed to be flying in space. Everybody's supposed to have a spacecraft in 2020. You know what I mean? And this was out in the 70s and the 80s. What is it that's going on? Why we don't have gasoline, or why we still using gasoline? That's so archaic. You know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there just studying all this stuff. Man, I'm studying the poison of white sugar, the poison of white milk, and the Food and Drug Agency, the FDA, and the bullshit that they give us on the pyramids. And so I'm going down all these rabbit holes, and I kid you not, family. Man, every day when I got off work, every night when I got off work, I would come home and I would spend 8 to 10 hours studying this stuff daily, every single day. And when I wasn't at work, man, all day, all night, that's all I delved into. That's all I dove into. Why? Because in my mind, I had to be woke. I had to enlighten myself. And what I was really doing was really depressing myself. What I was really doing was silencing my voice. Stay with me. We're talking about going down the rabbit hole today. So I'm studying all this stuff, man, and I jump into, man, Egyptologist, I become an Egyptologist, you know what I mean? I'm studying the pyramids. Man, there's nowhere in the world when you look at the pyramids of Giza, you know what I mean? How they're perfectly aligned, how today, even today with our technology, and computers, we can build the pyramids that big and that precise. How is it that these people long thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, without the computers that we have, without the technology that we have today, was able to move these massive stones that weigh tons? It wasn't slave labor that moved these stones. Stay with me. That's so illogical. That's not even practical. But that's the crap that they spoon fed us. And we bought it hook, line, and sinker. What is it about these pyramids, man, and all of the different tunnels, or not just tunnels, but the chambers within the pyramids? You know what I mean? What do these chambers represent? Why are these chambers there? What did the Sphinx really represent? Why are these pyramids of Giza perfectly aligned right up under Orion's belt? What was the significance of that? So I'm studying that, man, why are these three perfectly aligned up under these three stars? What did they know that we don't know? Man, we're going down the rabbit hole today. So I'm studying all that stuff. And then I jump into, man, Atlantis. You know what I mean? Man, Atlantis, I'm studying Lemuria, you know what I mean? And it's like, man, you get into that, it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Man, that's so deep. Man, that's mind-boggling. You know what I mean? And then I get into the Bermuda Triangle. There's so much stuff that you could jump into. There's so much stuff, so many different rabbit holes that you could go down. So many. You know what I mean? And so I'm tripping, and it's like, okay, man. And I remember back in the late 80s when I joined the Air Force, this OG came to me and he said, man, talk to me about coins. Are you woke? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Am I woke? He said, man, are you woke? I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, how intelligent are you? I said, well, okay, what are you talking about? He said, are you deep? I said, oh my gosh, this guy, what's up, OG? And so he laid out 5 coins for me right in front of me, right? And so I got some coins, just a second. So he laid out 5 coins in front of me. I only have 4 of them with me right now. And so he asked me, he said, explain to me the coinage. And I'm saying, what? He said, man, explain to me the coins. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, look at the quarter. He laid a quarter down. So I want y'all to see the quarter. Look at the direction that the quarter is facing George Washington. Look at the direction he's facing. And so he showed me that and he laid it down. And then he grabbed a dime. Well, first he showed me a 50-cent piece. And he showed me the direction that 50-cent piece was going. And then he showed me the quarter. And then he showed me the dime. The direction, look at the direction the dime is facing. You know what I mean? And then he showed me the nickel. We're talking about going down the rabbit hole today. Look at the direction the nickel's facing. All right? And so he laid those 4 coins down in front of me. He said, what's the last coin left? He said, I showed you a 50-cent piece. I showed you a quarter, a dime, a nickel. He said, what's the last coin left? I said, a penny? He said, yeah. He said, well, tell me about the penny. I said, what are you talking about? And so he picked up a penny. Look at the direction that the penny's facing. Again, here's the nickel. The nickel, the dime, the quarter, the 50-cent piece, they're all facing the same direction. Why? And he broke it down. It's like, why is it that all these presidents, why is it that all these other coins are facing the opposite direction from Abraham Lincoln on the penny? All these other coins right here that are this color in nature are all facing one direction, and only the penny is facing this direction. He said, is it because all these presidents in history turned their back on Abraham Lincoln for freeing the slaves? Is that why it's brown? Because he freed the black people? Oh, we're going down the rabbit hole today. Stay with me. He said, or is it because Abraham Lincoln himself was a light-skinned black man? I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, what are you trying to say? You know what I mean? And so he's sitting there, he's just talking about this stuff, right? And so he's like, man, there's so much you don't know about your own history, Elijah. How are you going to be deep? How are you going to be enlightened? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude's on one, right? And so I'm asking him all these questions, and he's spitting all this knowledge, and I get up and leave. My head is hurting. Man, I got a headache just because of all the knowledge and stuff that he was dumping into me. Are you woke? What are you woke to? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, dang. And so, man, back in 93, I become a master mason. 94, I become a master mason. Man, I move up through the ranks quick because, man, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. Man, I'm starving for knowledge. Man, I'm just taking in all this information, just absorbing all this information. Man, and I move up through the ranks to 32nd degree master mason, right? And so I'm just, man, filled with all this information. Man, my eyes are open, so I think, and I'm studying all this stuff, right? So I'm sitting there one day and I'm like, dang, this stuff is crazy. Man, there's so much to know. And man, the government is doing whoop. Man, look at what the government did to the Native Americans. Man, look at what the government did, to the black and to the Tuskegee experiment. You know what I mean? Look at what the government did in America where they dropped bombs on Black Wall Street down in the South. We don't talk about that in history. We don't talk about that in history. We're talking about American history. We don't talk about that in American history. How the police and the military came in and blew up the black banks and the black businesses in America. We don't talk about the Federal Reserve notes. We believe, so many of us believe that, man, the Federal Reserve is part of the federal government. It has nothing to do with the federal government. Nothing to do with the federal government at all. And we're learning all this stuff, right? And we're learning all this stuff. And he's like, man, go deeper. Go deeper than that, Elijah. And so I'm sitting, I'm like, okay, well, what else do you want me to learn? And so he said, do you know? And so I got all these people just putting boom, just throwing information my way. He said, do you know? He said, talk to me about the slaves in America. I'm like, oh man, here we go. That's a trigger for me. You know what I mean? Talking about slavery was a trigger for me. Stay with me. Man, because I came into the military with the mentality, man, me and my boys want to start a group called BMN, Black Militant Men. Man, in our mind, America had its peacetime. Stay with me. I'm not on that level. I'm not tripping on that stupid stuff no more. Stay with me. I'm talking about my mentality at the time. And so my mentality, our mentality at the time was America had its peacetime. You had the Marcus Garveys that you exiled and you ignored. You had the Frederick Douglasses, the Martin Luther Kings, the Harriet Tubmans, the Malcolms and Sojourner Truth, and all these other people. Man, y'all didn't want to listen to them. You gonna listen to us because we're gonna burn some fucking shit up. You gonna listen to us because we're gonna learn your tactics and we're gonna shoot some shit up. Stay with me. My mentality was, man, I'm going to learn all this shit in the military and come back and teach my people, and we're going to rise up and burn this bitch down. I'm going down the rabbit hole. And so I'm militant. Man, back in 88, 89, before Martin Luther King's birthday became a federal holiday, man, we was marching back then. Montana didn't recognize Martin Luther King's birthday. You know what I mean? It was one of the few states that didn't. And so we were marching back then. Man, we was up 18 years old. We up speaking and just going on about the trials and the tribulations of the black men and the black women in this country. And so, man, I'm learning. He said, hold on, wait a minute. He said, hold on. He said, let's talk about slavery. He said, talk about slavery. I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay. He said, before you could talk about slavery, you got to understand some things about slavery. And so I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He said, slavery ain't what they tell you it is. And I'm like, what? He said, man, because back then my name was Broadway. He said, Broadway, understand, slavery had nothing to do with the race. Stay with me. He said, slavery had nothing to do with the color of your skin. And that blew me away. It's like, hold on, wait a minute. Man, you're tripping. Because that went against everything that I'd heard, everything that I read. He said, man, bro, go do your research. In the South, there were black slave owners. In the South, the largest slave plantations were owned by black people. We don't talk about that in black society. Black Americans don't talk about that stuff. A lot of white Americans don't know that the largest slave plantations in the South were owned by the blacks. And so when you get all these people talking about the Confederate flag and woo-doo, and how racist it is and blah, 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 that's bullshit. Those people don't know the education. Those people don't know their history. They don't know their history. They're spewing some shit that somebody done told them. Because the truth is, black people was funding the Confederate flag. Black people were funding the Confederate soldiers and the generals. Why? To keep their money going. We don't talk about that stuff though, because that doesn't fit with the agenda of black versus white, or white versus black. We don't talk about that stuff. Going down the rabbit hole. The trip is, the great majority of us, we study so much stuff. We study so much stuff, and we think that makes us woke. We study so much stuff, and we listen to so much bullshit, and we think we're enlightened. People ask me, man, how come you don't push a black agenda? Because I'm not fucking black. I know that's gonna piss some people off. Stay with me. Stay with me. I'm not being divisive and I'm not being ignorant talking about that stupid shit. Because none of that stupid shit helps us in any way, shape, or form. At all. How can we talk about black this, black that? And there were black people that had us in prison. There were black people that had us beating the shit out of us as slaves. There were black people in this country that didn't want us to be free. It's easy to sit back and say, black, the white man's holding us down and whoop-doo-doo. No, it was a bunch of black people holding us down too. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. We don't know anything about that. That goes against the agenda of being divisive, of being separate. We completely missed that. Just like we missed the fact that these black politicians, for the most part, don't give a fuck about black people in the community. That's why the hood ain't never got no better. That's why the great majority of these cities that are quote unquote black cities ain't got any fucking better. And these politicians have been in office 20, 30, 40, 50 years and ain't accomplished a goddamn thing except for them getting fucking richer. Man, we going in today. We're talking about going down the rabbit hole. And so when you start going down all these rabbit holes, we miss it. And we get divisive. We get divisive. We become untrusting. Because we start looking at everybody else and we start looking at them as sheeple. People that's ignorant and just been led to the slaughter. I was guilty of that. Man, I was guilty of that. Man, I lived on a ranch in California, and man, I couldn't wait for the fucking apocalypse to come. I couldn't wait for the end of the dollar and all this other shit to get here. I couldn't wait for the fucking zombie apocalypse. I was prepared for it. I was stocked and ready to go. Man, we don't talk about the vaccines and all this other stuff. We don't talk about this shit. We believe everything that the government tell us. We don't talk about how on September 10th, man, the Secretary of Defense, was it Donald Rumsfeld, I believe that was his name, got up on national TV and talked about how the military had just happened to, man, they couldn't account for billions of dollars. Not millions, billions of dollars went unaccounted for. On September 10th, 2001, Google it. How convenient, how conveniently the next day 9/11 happened. Nobody talked about the billions that the military lost. Because now we're blindfolded and we're hoodwinked and we're believing that 19 terrorists came in and hijacked some planes and crashed into the Pentagon, crashed into the World Trade Center, and crashed in somewhere in Pennsylvania. Because we believe the bullshit that we've been fed. We missed what they're talking about when you look at the movie The Matrix. When you look at any of The Matrix, especially the last one that just came out. When you look at the movie The Matrix and you talk about, man, people love being asleep. Because being asleep is convenient to them. Being asleep, man, they ain't got to really think. They don't have to think for themselves. They love the convenience of being distracted. And yet everybody talks about they woke. And we completely miss it. We completely miss how the government has been lying to us from the gate. We completely missed the fact that before World War II, America, you got to understand something. I'm prior military. The government always has to have an enemy. The government always has to have an enemy. Prior to World War II, man, America was fighting on the side of China. America was fighting on the side of Russia. America, China, and Russia were allies in World War II. Conveniently, after World War II, man, we flipped the script because we always got to have an enemy. We conquered Japan. America is the only country to drop a nuclear bomb on another country. And we dropped 2 on Japan. And amazingly, after World War II, Japan becomes an ally of the United States, and China becomes an enemy. Russia becomes an enemy. 9/11 kicked off a whole new thing. 9/11 kicked off this thing. 9/11 kicked off. What was it? The Muslim thing. The terrorists. There's always got to be an enemy. But they won't talk to you about how all of the bin Laden family was working with the Bushes. Close business allies and associates. And how all of them were secretly, when all the planes were shut down, when nothing was flying after 9/11, how all the bin Ladens were secretly put on a plane and flown out of the country. We don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about Prescott Bush, George Bush's grandfather, who funded Hitler. We don't talk about where Hitler and all his people went after the war. They tell us, oh, Hitler died in a bunker with his wife. No, they didn't. We don't talk about how all these German Nazis ended up down in Argentina and Chile. We don't talk about how a lot of these people became part of the CIA and FBI and other secret agencies in America, as well as in Britain. We don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about the fact that Germany was connected with UFOs and alien technology back during Hitler's time frame. We don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about the moon. Is it real? Is it real or is it hollow? How come they heard ringing coming from the moon? Is it really the moon or is it something that we made, something that was made? There's a whole lot going on with the moon that we don't understand. We don't talk about the fact that we ain't really went to the moon back in '69 like they say they did. NASA didn't land on the moon like they say they did. I'm talking about going down the rabbit hole. I'm talking about going down the rabbit hole. And so I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm studying this stuff in depth. Man, it's like, damn, you can't believe shit you read in America. You can't just go to school and just accept the bullshit that they spoon feed you. And yet, that's what they do. Yet, that's what we do. And we stop thinking for ourselves. We don't talk about the Dogons in Africa and how they were able to see the stars and the constellations and all these other different things without the telescope. How they were able to see and know these things with their natural eyes. So when I talk about, man, I was going down rabbit holes, man, I was going down rabbit holes, a whole lot of them. A whole lot of them. We don't talk about how the Rockefellers in this country funded the women's lib movement. Not because they gave a damn about women voting, not because they gave a damn about women being able to work. They wanted to fund, they pushed the women's movement, they financed the women's movement. Why? Because only the men were working for the most part. And so they told the women, man, all the men, they're out to war, fighting in the war. Man, go out there and support your men. Be a good patriot and go work in these factories and build these things for your sons, for your kids, for your husbands, for your grandkids, and all this other bullshit. Not because they gave a damn about that, but because by putting the women to work, they can now tax more people. I'm gonna say it again. The government and these people pushing the agenda didn't give a fuck about all you women voting. They didn't give a fuck about you women becoming liberal or independent. They just wanted you out of the house so that your kids could be left at home and so that they could program your kids and so that they could get you out there in the workforce competing with men and divided against the men and arguing with the men and so they could tax the fuck out of you. They didn't give a fuck about the shit y'all was talking about. They had their own agenda. And they used you as puppets. And now they're financially raping you and they've screwed up your kids. We don't talk about the real shit that's going on. We don't talk about this stuff. What is the group that not group? There was a lady, I can't think of her name right now off the top of my head, but she founded the what is it? The pregnancy place. The oh my gosh, here in America where I can't even think of the name of it right now, but my mind is spinning. There's so much I want to talk about right now. But she funded the place, Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood was organized and created by a white racist lady that wanted to kill off black kids and Hispanic kids. She didn't give a fuck about black kids and brown kids. And she told the government that. And black folks and Hispanic folks, man, they love Planned Parenthood. They adore Planned Parenthood. They will go to war over the benefits from Planned Parenthood. Never even understanding the agenda was to annihilate their own people, was to enslave their own people. But yet we're so damn woke. Yet we're so damn enlightened. We have no clue that the Black Lives Matter movement was funded and pushed by the government. And it wasn't about black rights. It wasn't about blacks being killed by cops. The government don't need Black Lives Matter movement to stop that bullshit. If the government wanted it stopped, the government could have stopped that shit years ago, decades ago. The government financed that shit. But we're so damn woke. We're so damn enlightened. We know all this shit. And the trip was, man, God was showing me, Elijah, you know about this. You know about that. You know about this. You know about that. Elijah, you know about the government. And see, this thing we get so caught up in, we get so divided on black versus white. The government don't give a fuck about black, white, Hispanic, Asian. None of that shit matter to the government. None of that shit matters. Case in point. Again, I'm a veteran. Go back to Vietnam. The government was dropping Agent Orange, some poison, some chemicals on its own fucking people. Its own soldiers, black people, white people, brown people, Asian people. Everybody that was going over there was getting affected by this Agent Orange shit. These fucking chemicals that our government was dropping and poisoning and destroying the land over there. And it was fucking up our soldiers. And not just fucking them up. They brought it back and gave it to their wives and gave it to their girlfriends and their kids that had disabilities and ailments from this fucking Agent Orange. And the government denied it for years and decades and not allowed them to get the help that they needed. So it's not about a black and white thing. We gotta stop the foolishness. We gotta stop the stupid shit. We have to grow up. And so what God was showing me was, Elijah, you could talk about this, and you could talk about this, and you studied this in depth, and you studied this in depth, and you studied this in depth, and you know that right here in America, we have more oil reserves. And I'm not talking about the bullshit that our presidents tell us about. We got oil reserves that we haven't even tapped into yet that's larger than anywhere else in the Middle East. But we don't want to use ours yet. We want to use up and consume everybody else's, so when it's all gone and over it, we're the last one standing. Talking about going down the rabbit hole. Are you woke? Man, are you woke? Man, and so I'm studying HARP. And I can't even remember what HARP is, the acronym, HAARP. I'm gonna spell it again. HARP, HAARP. Look it up. Look it up. This is some shit that came out back in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s, in the Air Force and in the Navy. Man, and when I was in the military, they had this joke. You ain't got to pray to God for rain. Just ask your Uncle Sam. I'm going to say it again. When I was in the military in the 80s, late 80s, they had this joke. You don't have to pray to God for rain. All you got to do is ask your Uncle Sam. Why? Because HAARP, it was weather control. HAARP, the government understood and they knew, and I believe it was Tesla and their father and some other people that started all this bullshit. But they wanted to use it for something else. And the government came in and took the shit over. And it's not just weather control. It's energy control. So HAARP, man, they can make an earthquake, a major earthquake happen. HAARP, they can make a tornado come. They can make hurricanes come. They can make it be a drought wherever they want it to be. They can make it just rain and rain and rain and rain and flood wherever they want it to be. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. Part of HAARP, they can use it as mind control. They can release the energy to make people violent. They can release an energy to make people docile. But we don't want to talk about that stuff. That's all tinfoil hat stuff. That's all conspiracy stuff. We don't want to talk about all that stuff. We have no clue that the great majority of that stuff happens behind the scenes. We have no clue of who Boule is, of what Boule is, or who's part of Boule. But we get up and we talk, man, the master masons ain't shit. Every president has been a mason and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, and they're all Illuminati and they're da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da. Man, family, grow the fuck up. Grow up. You got to understand something. They put information out there as different as disinformation. I said it again. Most of the bullshit that you see on TV, most of the bullshit you see on social media is disinformation. It's the wrong information. You got all these people on all these platforms and they're spewing all this stupid shit. And most of them are disinformation agents working on behalf of the government or working on behalf of these other agencies. The trip. I have a picture back in 2014 when my brother passed away. My wife and I flew out to Georgia and picked up my kids at the time and drove to Florida for the funeral and stuff. Came back, dropped them off. And we went to this town in Georgia, tiny town in Georgia called Atherton, Georgia. And in Atherton, Georgia, they had this thing called the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones. And I took a picture standing in front of it because for years when I was in Cali, I was telling everybody, man, Google Georgia Guidestones. Look up Georgia Guidestones. If you don't believe nothing I tell you, look up the Georgia Guidestones. And so I've been telling people this for years. And so now it's the first chance I was in Georgia, and it's like, man, I gotta go see these Guidestones. I don't care how far it is from where I'm at. The Georgia Guidestones. Georgia Guidestones. And it's a trick because nobody knows who paid for it. Nobody knows who really funded it. And you got these 20-something foot granite rocks looking like the 10 Commandments. And the rule number one, law number one, the first rule, the first priority on the Georgia Guidestones is maintain world population under 500 million. Stay with me. The Guidestones came out in the 90s. They were built and put in place in the 90s. We already had 4 billion people on the planet. Stay with me. How the hell can we have over 4 billion people on the planet when these Guidestones are put in place? And the number one rule, and it's a trick because on each side of the rock, just picture my queen. Just imagine this as a Guidestone. On this side right here, it's in English, and it has 10 different laws that they want to do, right? First one, maintain world population under 500 million. On the other side of this granite rock, it's a different language. The same stuff, the different language. And so they got like 4 of these up. I believe it's either 4 or 5 of them. I believe it's 4. And then there's other stuff in different languages up around the top of it. And then they got a capstone over there as well. And so in the 90s, we already had like maybe 4.5 billion people on the planet. And their number one rule is maintain world population under 500 million. Stay with me. We have, was about 8 billion people here. And they're still talking about maintaining world population under 500 million? 500 million? Do you know how many people would have to die to get the population under 500 million? We don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about cancer and the agenda with cancer. We've been fighting cancer for over 100 fucking years and we can't fix the shit? We could fly to the fucking moon and everywhere else, but we can't fix cancer? We could find Bin Laden and everybody else anywhere in the world, but we couldn't fix cancer? You can't fix something that's making you billions and trillions of dollars. You don't want to fix something that's making you billions and trillions of dollars. And so the Rockefellers have all these cancer research institutes and all these other cancer agencies. And so when you donate money, that you're giving it to the Rockefellers. Tell me, going down the rabbit hole. Are you really woke? Are you really woke? Are you really woke? And see the trick, family. Every person walking on the planet, everybody, we have cancer cells within us. Already. Every one of us. But the trip is our body's natural defense mechanisms in place keep them at bay. I shared with you guys how my wife passed away from breast cancer. And one of the things that we did was we went to, I can't even think of the doctor that we went to go see. And they tell you that cancer, it's your immune system has been shot to hell. And because your immune system has been shot to hell, now the cancer cells are free to multiply and spread because your immune system has been compromised and is not strong enough to fight off the cancer cells. And that's why cancer spreads throughout your body. It's because your immune system has been compromised. Some shit we don't talk about. And so we go to the doctor's office And so you go to the doctor's office, and these people, these are the doctors, these are fucking specialists. And in America, you can only have 3 treatments. There's only 3 treatments that America allows to be sanctioned. And if a doctor tells you anything outside of these 3 treatments, he can be in prison, lose his job, and be fined thousands of dollars. And those 3 treatments in America: chemotherapy, because there's millions and billions to be made in chemotherapy; radiation; and surgery. That's it. I'm gonna say it again. There's only 3 forms of treatment a doctor can tell you about in America: chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. And most of the time, they're gonna try to run you through the gamut of all 3. Why? Because there's money to be made. And so we're there at the doctor's office. Again, understand, cancer spreads through your body because your immune system has been compromised. What is it that compromises our immune system? Some shit we don't talk about. And I tell you guys all the time, man, get out in the fucking sun and get you some vitamin D. Why? Because that helps your immune system. Sugar. Sugar is poison to your immune system. White sugar is the most cancerous thing in America. Stay with me. We're going somewhere. We're talking about going down the rabbit hole. White sugar is in damn near everything. Why? Because it fucks up your immune system. Oh, shit tastes good, but it's fucking up your immune system. And so, when you look at a can of soda, just a little regular 10-ounce, 12-ounce can, whatever they come in, 4 tablespoons of sugar. Not teaspoons, tablespoons. Was it a tablespoon of sugar will mess up your immune system for 4 hours? A tablespoon of sugar compromises your immune system for at least 4 hours. How much sugar are you consuming? I've talked to you guys about the poison of sugar or white sugar. It's no coincidence that, man, all of us, we've been fighting cancer for over 100 years. Why the hell do we still have kids and grown folks dying from cancer and being diagnosed with cancer? So we're at the doctor's office. And it's a trip because, man, my ignorance at the time, I didn't understand. I'm on one today. We talking about going down the rabbit hole. And so we go to the doctor's office and, man, walk in and you check in at the window and, man, these motherfuckers had a candy dish right there at the window when you check in. And I pointed it out to my wife at the time. It's like, look at this shit. Your immune system is already fucked up. Everybody here got cancer. And they're still offering you more fucking sugar. That's not it. I walk out to the bathroom. And I just happened to look in this one room. And I didn't understand cancer and chemotherapy and all that stuff at the time. I thought, man, you go to the hospital and man, they'll have you in your own little room and they'll have give you an IV and all that other stuff, but you be in your own little room. I didn't understand the magnitude of the money. I didn't understand the capitalism behind it all. Stay with me. So I walk to the bathroom and I look in this room right here and family, I kid you not. It broke my heart. I saw at least 20 chairs lined up like you were at a fucking barber shop. And every chair had a person in it. And every person in it was getting their fucking chemotherapy treatment. They had an IV coming in, sitting there watching TV, drinking some fucking juice, and eating fucking cookies. They taking all this fucking poison into their body. And they're still being offered juice and cookies. That broke my heart. That fucked me up. Because I didn't realize how ignorant I was of the treatment. I'm going down the rabbit hole. Are you woke? Are you really woke? So talked about earlier how, man, the government was put all this Agent Orange and gave all these veterans or all these active duty military people in another country, quote unquote, protecting American interests, quote unquote, protecting American lives. And we got all these people that's been poisoned by our government. And the government didn't give a fuck what color, what nationality they were. You look at what they did to the Native Americans. I'm part Native American, Blackfoot on my mom's side and Cherokee on my dad's side. And you look at what they did with the Trail of Tears. You look at how they gave them contaminated meat and poison and infected blankets and shit. You look at what they did to the black men when they gave all those black men in the South. Was it syphilis? And didn't even tell them that they were giving them syphilis. America knew that the Japanese was getting ready to bomb Pearl Harbor. They knew it. They broke their messages. They knew that Pearl Harbor was going to get bombed. I had the opportunity of going to Pearl Harbor and walking out, and there's a ship that's sunk in the harbor, and there's still droplets of oil coming up. All these years later, they have a nice memorial there. And it broke my heart. Because all these people died. All these people died because our government wanted to go to war. And the only way that the American people would sanction and allow our government to make that decision was we had to be attacked. So they allowed all these Americans to die when they could have protected every single one of them. They could have had all the ships out. They could have had all the planes off the ground. They could have protected Hawaii. But they chose not to. So that we could go to war. So that Americans would be pissed off. We have to grow up. We have to grow up. We have to grow up. Nothing has changed. There's a thing that our government does. They have an agenda that they want to push. And what they do, and it's not just our government. All governments do this. All governments do this. And so they want to pass these rules. They want to pass these laws. What's up, Scorpio lady? They want to pass these laws. And so they'll create something. They'll make an incident happen. They'll make something happen to get the effects of the American people. They'll create a situation to get the people riled up, to get the people so pissed off, so angry, so up in arms that they demand the government do something, and the government already has their plan in place. And so they pass all these laws because the people cry out for it. The people cry out for their fucking imprisonment and they don't even know it. But yet we're woke. Yet we're enlightened. Yet we're enlightened. Man, I remember back I can't even remember when it happened, when Princess Diana car and the car of her fiance was blown up. That fucked me up. And I don't even understand why that messed me up. That fucked me up. And I sat there and I cried. I cried that that the government, and it wasn't even the American government, but we do shit just like that. We can't even talk about the war on drugs because our government was bringing in the fucking dope. Our government was slanging dope and bringing dope into the communities for them to sell and for them to slang. The government was bringing in all these fucking weapons. And ain't shit changed. One of the things that if you paid attention during the Black Lives Matter bullshit protest, man, if you paid attention to that shit, man, on certain areas, they would have conveniently have fucking pallets of fucking bricks just sitting there, completely out of the norm. No purpose for them whatsoever. But to provide fucking weapons for these young, ignorant people. That's no different from the government bringing in guns and dropping them in the ghettos and in the other communities. The government bringing in the dope because it pushes an agenda. We have to grow up. Why am I talking about going down these rabbit holes? Because one of the things that God had to show me was Elijah. And he fucked me up when he told me this, when he showed me this. He said, Elijah. And I was so arrogant and so just on it because, man, I could talk, whatever it is you want to talk about, man, I could talk about it. We could spit on this for hours and I wouldn't get tired. And I'll pull out all my notes and I'm woo and just going in, what do you want to talk about? Oh, you want to talk about the Kennedy assassination? Let's talk about it. Oh, you want to talk about not JFK, but what's this guy's name? The president. Abraham Lincoln. You want to talk about his assassination? Let's talk about it. He didn't get assassinated because he freed the black people. That's the bullshit they tell us. Go look up greenbacks. Anytime you start fucking with the money, you gotta go. Anytime you start fucking with the money, you gotta go. Stay with me. And it's a trip. Because when they decided that Jesus had to die, it's because Jesus made a weapon out of leather. He made a whip and went into the temple and flipped over all the money changers. Flipped over all their table, all the businesses, tables. Money went flying everywhere. And then he drove their asses out with the fucking whip. That's what Jesus did. That's biblical. Go look it up. And at that point, many scholars said, that's when they decided this motherfucker gotta go. He don't fuck. We didn't give a damn about him healing the sick. We didn't really give a damn about him feeding the 5,000 and the multitudes. We didn't really give a damn about him giving eyesight to the blind. But this motherfucker done fucked up the money. He got to go. Are you woke? I'm going down the rabbit hole. And see, family, what we have to understand is what God showed me. Elijah. Why are you going down all these fucking rabbit holes? And I'm trying to tell God, I'm trying to be woke. God, I'm trying to learn some stuff. God, I'm trying to be enlightened. God, I'm trying to help the people. God, and I'm telling God all this stuff. And God is saying, Elijah, I'm not hearing all that bullshit. Elijah, I don't give a fuck if you know that it wasn't a plane that hit the Pentagon. I don't give a fuck if you know that it was a missile that hit the Pentagon. And that whole side of the Pentagon had been under renovation. It was completely empty. And had been empty. Elijah. I don't give a fuck if you know that the Oklahoma City bombing where that building collapsed, quote unquote, Timothy McVeigh went and blew up. Elijah, I don't give a fuck if you know that's where they kept all the FBI building in was it Waco, Texas? Not Waco, Texas, in Oklahoma. That's where the FBI kept all the paperwork on Waco, Texas, and their assassination of those people. That's convenient for the federal government to say all that paperwork was kept in the buildings and in that side of the area, those rooms that blew up. Of everything that happened in Waco, Texas, where they went in there and killed all them religious people. David Koresh and his followers and all those kids. God was in Elijah, I don't give a fuck about that. Elijah, I don't give a damn that you could talk about Pearl Harbor. You could talk about the Bermuda Triangle. Elijah, I don't give a fuck if you know about all this other shit that's gone on and all this other shit that's going on. How the fuck is it helping you? Are you woke? I'm talking about going down the rabbit hole. Elijah, you spent all this time studying all of this shit. And it's made you untrusting. It's made you toxic. It's made you negative. Elijah, I don't give a fuck if you know about HARP and all these other secret government agencies that's off planet fighting aliens and all this other bullshit. Elijah, I don't give a damn if you know that UFOs exist. And you know that there are aliens walking amongst us. And some of our governments are partnered up with them. And that's why we got this technology. I don't give a fuck that you know that shit, Elijah. Elijah. He just kept calling me, Elijah. How the fuck is this stuff helping you? You spent all this time, you got all this knowledge. You know all this shit, but you don't know who the fuck you are. You got all this knowledge, all this understanding. You're so fucking woke, but you don't even know what your fucking purpose is. You got all this knowledge. You've invested all this time, all this energy. You would have a doctorate degree, multiple doctorate degrees if you invested this time in a fucking college. And I don't give a fuck that you know all this shit. Because you don't even fucking know who you are. You don't even fucking know why you get angry the way you do. Why you get triggered the way you do. How the fuck can you talk about the different constellations and religion and all this other shit and you don't even know who you are? You so damn woke. You can't even deal with why you out here fucking every woman you can. You so damn fucking woke. But you don't even know how to let go of your fucking fear. You don't even know how to deal with your fears. But you're woke. You done invested all this time going all down all these rabbit holes when you should have been learning about your goddamn self. You know all this other shit, but you don't even know you. You know all this shit about these families that run the government, about these, because the president don't run shit but his mouth. The president is nothing but a fucking puppet. He say what he's told to say. Elijah, you know all this stuff. You know all this stuff. But you don't know anything about you. What good did it benefit you learning all this shit? What good did it benefit you learning all of this crap? And you didn't learn anything about you. You didn't grow emotionally. You haven't grown spiritually. Family, the truth is, the great majority of us, we swear to God we woke. We swear to God we know about the different agendas in the hip hop industry. We swear to God we know about all these other people and how they quote unquote have to sell their soul to the devil and all this other bullshit we think we're convinced of. We think we know. We know all this shit. But we don't know a damn thing about the person we see in the mirror. We can tell you everything about Will Smith and Jay-Z and Kanye West and all these other people. We could tell you everything about them. How fucking twisted is that? How the fuck am I more interested in another dude than I am myself? How can you be on somebody else's jock that fucking hard? How can you be a fan of somebody that fucking much and you don't know a damn thing about you? You have no clue as to who you are, why you're here, why you react the way you do, why you think the way you do. Family, man, I want to challenge each and every one of you. Man. Because we live in a woke society. We live in a woke era. You know what I mean? Everybody's fucking woke. You know what I mean? And we don't even understand. Hold on, wait a minute. I was born in 1970. Before I was born, they had fucking cell phones. Stay with me. Cell phones wasn't released to the masses in America till I want to say like 93, 94. You couldn't get cell phones until the early 90s. And yet Captain Kirk had a flip phone in the fucking 60s on Star Trek. That he would just flip the fucking phone, beam me up, Scotty. But we're so woke. We know so much bullshit. We've gone down so many fucking rabbit holes. But we don't know who we are. We have no idea as to who we are. We have no idea as to who God is. We have no idea as to why we're here. I don't give a fuck how many degrees you have. I don't give a fuck how much money you got. If you don't understand who you are and why you're here, you've missed the point of your fucking life. We don't even understand that chasing money is just like going down a fucking rabbit hole. Chasing education is just like going down a fucking rabbit hole. How the fuck can you have a doctorate degree, a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, and still not know who the fuck you are? You don't spend all this fucking money, all this fucking time studying about dead people, studying about all these other people, and regurgitating their fucking philosophies and their fucking concepts. You spent all this time writing all these papers and learning about all these people, and you ain't learned about who you are. You could talk about the Lemurians, you could talk about Atlantis, you could talk about all the Egyptians and the Ethiopians, you could talk about all these people. But you don't know who you are. You don't know why you react the way you do. You don't know why you're so fucking racist. You don't know why you're so fucking unforgiving and intolerant. Why you have such low self-esteem. Why you hate yourself. Why you're so depressed. Why you're so suicidal. Why you're so angry. I know people that could tell you everything about different guns. They could tell you from the sound of the gun when it fires what type of gun it is. They know all the specs, but they don't have a fucking clue who they are. I know people that know everything about fucking automobiles, but they can't tell you shit about who they are. I know engineers that's deep and knowledgeable about some shit and can build some shit to stand the test of time. But they don't understand their own fucking mind. They don't understand who they are. I know all these kung fu masters that, man, 7, 8 degree black belts and whoop-de-whoop, and they can tell you all this shit about all these moves. But they don't know who they are. They don't know why they're here. We have to wake up. See, we'll go down all these other fucking rabbit holes, except for the one into our own fucking subconscious thoughts. Because that thought, that idea is so fucking foreign. That idea is so fucking scary. I ain't got time for that bullshit. I ain't got time to pull up my past. I ain't got time to deal with my childhood. I ain't got time to deal with my ex breaking my heart and cheating on me and whoop-doo-doo. I ain't got time to deal with all that shit. But we got time to go down all these other fucking rabbit holes. We know everything except for the things that we need to learn. I'm gonna say it again. We know everything about everything else except for the shit that we should be learning. Because we're so fucking distracted. We're so distracted. We've completely missed the point of living. We've missed it. Because we're far more concerned with getting a king, getting a queen, having sex, getting drunk, getting lit, doing all this other shit, chasing the bag. We're so concerned with all this other shit. And we've been more concerned with all of this stuff than we have been with getting to know us. Getting to know us. Getting to like us. Getting to value us. Getting to love us. Man, are you woke? Are you woke? None of that other stuff means anything if you die and don't accomplish what you came here for. None of that other stuff matters if you die not knowing who you are. If you die not accomplishing what you came here to accomplish. None of that other shit means anything. You've wasted this fucking lifetime being distracted, being focused on the wrong shit, going down the wrong rabbit hole. Going down the wrong rabbit hole. Man, family, my hope and prayer is that you learn to value you enough to go down that rabbit hole and stop going down all these other rabbit holes. Because the truth is, you're never going to know it all. You're never going to get all the answers. You're never going to have privilege to all of the information of all the shit that's gone on. Like, why the fuck, after they killed Ken, why did they take his fucking brain? We'll never know this bullshit. We'll never know what the Bay of Pigs was really about. We'll never know that shit. And it don't really matter. All that matters is getting to know you, getting to value you, getting to love you. That's what matters. Go down that rabbit hole into your subconscious thoughts. Stop being scared to get to know you. I know people that could tell you the size nails that Jesus was hung upon, the type of wood that he was hung upon. How many times the leather whip was braided and how many metal clips that it had on it, that he was beaten with. They could tell you all this shit. And I'm not knocking what he went through, but it don't mean nothing if you know all this shit and don't know who you are. It don't mean anything if you know all this shit about, man, are all the presidents really related? Who was Obama's daddy for real? Was he really that Kenyan? Or was that used as a distraction? Because some people say that Obama's daddy was Malcolm X. But if they told you his daddy was Malcolm X, the country wouldn't follow him nowhere. The country wasn't ready to accept that and to embrace that this militant leader, son, could be running the government. We have to grow up. We have to grow up. It don't matter to me who Barack Obama's daddy was. It don't matter to me who his mama was. I don't give a damn. I don't. Because none of that shit has anything to do with my personal growth and development. None of that shit has anything to do with why I came here. Learn to disconnect from the fucking matrix. Everybody's watched Matrix. And we could tell you about all this shit, and everybody wants to be the one. Everybody wants to be Neo. And Neo just the one. N-E-O, Neo. Switch the letters around, and it's just the one. Every one of us, we're the one. But we don't fucking know it because we don't know who we are. And because we don't know who we are, we don't know the power we possess. Because we don't know who we are, we don't know why we're here. But you're the one. You're Neo. You're the one. You're the one. Stop waiting for somebody to come fucking save you. You're the one. You're the one. And the trip is, it don't matter how much I tell you, you're the one. Just like Morpheus. Morpheus is telling Neo, you're the one. You're the chosen one. You're the one that's going to do this. What do we do? And Neo couldn't accept it until he believed it himself. Everybody else believed it, but until Neo accepted it, until Neo embraced that idea, until Neo came into that understanding that he was the one, everybody else's opinion didn't matter. You're the one. You're the one that's going to save you. Your world, your life, it's going to be as beautiful or as fucked up as you allow it to be. Because you're the one. You manifest this shit. You do. And that's a hard pill for us to swallow. You have the power to change this shit. Because you're the one. You're the one. You're all powerful. You're connected to infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom. You're the one. But you're distracted with bullshit. You're going down the fucking wrong rabbit holes. Why? Because certain entities, certain people don't want you to come into the understanding that you're the one. And so they have all these distractions out there to keep you dumbed down, to keep you hoodwinked, to keep you ignorant of the fact that you don't need them. You don't need them because you're the one. You're the one. You look at all these people and you think they're the one because they're famous. You think they're the one because they got all this money. You think they're the one because they got all these connections. And because you don't know who you are, you don't have a voice. Because you don't know who you are, you can't walk in your power. You can't walk in your authority. You can only walk in your power. You can only walk in your authority when you get to know you and fall in love with you. Man. Family, if you want a prayer, my queen and I pray over all of you guys every night. Whether you watch the lives or whether you watch the replays on YouTube, we pray over everybody that watches these videos. If you'd like for us to pray over you and a specific prayer, man, shoot me. And you don't want it to be known on the platform, it's private, whatever the case, man, just shoot me an email. That information is in the description. And my wife and I will pray over that. If there's a specific topic that you'd like for us to talk about, man, just again, put a comment in on the live, put a comment in on the replay in the comment section, and we'll get that going as well. Thank you guys for being part of this journey. Thank you guys for being attentive. Thank you guys for your prayers. Thank you guys for your beautiful energy. Thank you guys for just your connection with each other, the love that you show each other, the respect that you show each other, and the chats and in the comments, how you guys support each other and, man, reach out to each other. I appreciate that. This is what living is all about. This is what living is all about. This is what family is all about. We're going to change the world, one person, one heart, and one mind at a time. I love you guys. My queen and I, we love you. Happy healing. We'll be back on again tomorrow evening at 6:30. Happy healing. Peace.